Boss, when an AI keeps making the same mistake, that's just it being lazy, right? You write, "Don't do that again," and it's fixed.
Here's the thing, rookie. I did write the rule that fixes the mistake, put it right in the doc, and the next week the AI shipped the exact same mistake anyway. Not fixed at all. It wasn't laziness, it was where I put the rule. Today's about the places a lesson works and the places it quietly rots. Take it home and the stubborn habit in your own prompts or agents will probably start to give.
Where you put it? I mean, there's only one place to write down a mistake, isn't there? You leave a "next time, do this" note. That's it?
That's what everyone assumes. It's how I ran it too. Mistake happens, you write the cause, you leave a "next time do this," a self-improving loop. The logic is sound, but there was one big hole in it. Writing the lesson down and the behavior changing. I'd been treating those as one thing. They're not. They were two completely separate events.
But wait, once it's written, doesn't it just read it next time and correct itself?
That's the trap. A rule written in prose lives somewhere the AI might read. There's no guarantee it opens that doc every single run and loads every line before it works. People don't do that. And an AI whose context shifts run to run, even less so.
So you relax the second you've written it, but nothing's actually moved yet.
Right. The fact that you wrote it hands you the illusion that it's fixed, a fake receipt. Today I'll show you how that receipt actually bounced, a real story from our own pipeline.
A real one? Let's hear it. What did you get wrong and how?
It's about thumbnails. Ours had the mascots planted big for the longest time, 2 of them, near full height at both edges of the frame. Then one day I looked at the actual numbers. The mascots were eating about 40% of the frame with no room left for the one thing that matters, information. It was our least clicked pattern. Up to there, I learned it correctly. Mascot small, information is the star. I put the winning pattern into words and into the record. I even built the tool, a mode in the thumbnail generator that drops the mascot.
You went that far? Then it's airtight. You wrote the lesson and built the tool.
You'd think. And then the very next explainer's thumbnail shipped, mascot huge old layout untouched, sent straight back for the exact note I'd just written down. The tool existed, it just didn't touch this one.
Wait, what? You built the tool?
Here's the heart of it. That dropped the mascot mode applied by default only to comparison and scoring videos. An explainer sat outside that default's range. So the tool was running, it just never got a shot at this video. The rule existed, the tool existed, but neither reached the thing we actually shipped.
So the rule was living in a dock, while the default was still stuck on the old setting.
Exactly. Mascot small was written in prose, but the default that actually decides how a thumbnail gets built still said explainers get a big mascot. The lesson never reached the place where the behavior gets decided.
So you should have written it harder? Always, every video, drop it in bold?
That's everyone's next move, and it fails just the same. Let me shift the frame here, rookie. This isn't a laziness problem, and it isn't a weak wording problem. It's a location problem. A rule can live in 2 places. One is prose, a doc or a note tacked onto your prompt. That's a might get read place. The other is structure, a default, a schema, a countable quota, a gate that stops when it fails. That's a place the behavior has to pass through.
Same lesson, and its fate flips depending on which one you drop it into.
That's the single thing I most want you to take home. A lesson in prose rots, because sometimes it doesn't get read. A lesson in structure works, because the behavior can't move forward without passing through it. And there's a scarier bit that runs under the whole back half. The moment you think you fixed it is the most dangerous one. The second you're holding that written receipt feeling safe, the next relapse is already loaded.
The person who wrote it is the one who lets their guard down.
So today I'll show 3 concrete shapes for translating prose into structure. A default, a gate that fails, a required slot plus a quota. All 3 came out of real sendbacks. 2 of them I've already dropped into the machinery. The middle one, ironically, is still sitting in a dock. I'll show you that one too out in the open because it is today's whole point. And at the end, we move all 3 straight onto your own AI workflow.
Number 1, the default, the mascot thing. How did this fix it?
Simple. I flipped that drop the mascot mode from an opt-in for comparison videos only to true by default for every long-form video. I didn't widen the scope, I turned the default over. See the difference? In the before, drop it on explainers to leans on a human remembering. In the after, dropping is the standard, and you only type false by hand when you deliberately want to keep it, which means a slip-up falls to the safe side.
Even if I try to mess it up, the default won't let me.
That's the power of a default. Prose that says be careful breaks the moment you forget to be careful. A default lands on the right side when you do nothing at all. It makes the bad outcome impossible from the starting state. I turned pay attention into you don't have to pay attention.
So the safe thing still happens even when I'm asleep at the wheel.
That's the gentlest form of encoding a lesson. The next one's a notch stronger, it actually stops.
In number 2, the gate that fails. You said it's stronger than a default?
Learned this one from a different accident. Before a video renders, there was a rule: you must run this quality check, and it was worded strong, must in caps, a must.
If it's written as a must, surely it gets followed.
It didn't. On one run, the video went out without the check ever running. Even a must prose can be skipped. As long as it sits somewhere skippable, must doesn't guarantee must. The fix is clear. Move the check out of the dock and into the build. Run it automatically right after render. Always keep the result, and if it fails, exit non-zero and kill the build with it. Do that and run the check stops being a memory item and becomes a build artifact.
So if you forget to run it, the thing just doesn't finish.
Right. And let me be straight with you here. This second one, we haven't actually wired it up yet. The QC is still a standalone command you run by hand. It isn't baked into the render flow. So our pipeline still has a skippable hole in it right now.
Wait, you know the fix and you still haven't done it?
And that's exactly today's point. I know the fix. I wrote it in the doc. But until it's in the structure, the lesson still isn't working, and that's the state I'm standing in right now. A prose must can be broken by willpower. A non-zero exit can't. If you want something enforced, put the condition where you can't move forward without meeting it. That's fail closed. When in doubt, it stops. It's written. All that's left is to put it there, and until I quit stalling on that, I'll fall in the same hole again.
Number 3, the required slot and the quota. What's different about this one?
This is about the ceiling on don't rules. We used to have this in the checklist. Fancy backgrounds only on decorative cuts, meant as a prohibition, except the safest way to obey it turned out to be, make every cut flat.
Oh, obey the band too well, and the whole world you built just disappears.
The brand world we'd built didn't show up in a single frame. A prohibition can only say don't. It can't say do, so the safe answer always drifts to the dullest one. The fix was replacing the ban with a required slot and accountable quota. Not text, 3 lines max, but diagrams over a third of the video, no more than 2 text slides in a row. Not mascot small. That one's the default story. Make it countable, and the person checking can just count the lines and fail it mechanically.
Wait, so whoever reviews it literally just counts? Diagrams over a third and it's a pass?
That's the whole appeal of a quota. Same with length. We used to ship on a vibe probably 8 minutes and get sent back short. Now we measure a floor from the real character count of videos that already shipped. We swapped a feeling for a number you can count. A vague that's enough can't be verified. A number can.
So the trick is, never write a rule you can't count?
You're getting it, all right? Here's where today actually lands. All of this works unchanged on your AI.
Wait, mine doesn't make videos. It's a chat assistant, an agent that writes code.
The shape is identical, rookie. You write always cite your sources in the prompt, and the AI forgets sometimes because it's prose, so instead, make sources a required field in the output schema. Empty, reject it, make it redo. You turn a please cite request into a won't pass without its structure. Same with 3 lines max, not a note in the prompt, a length validator that rejects it. Don't use the deprecated API, delete the API, or drop in one test that fails if it's used. Double check carefully, make the check a required intermediate output so an empty one can't move to the next step.
Can I see the sources one for real? How's it actually wired?
Let me show you the smallest form. Have the model return JSON instead of plain text and make the schema require 2 things, answer and sources. If sources comes back an empty array, that's a fail. Don't accept it. Throw it back with the same input plus sources are empty. Fill them and redo. Now, cite your sources isn't the AI's goodwill, it's a condition of passing. Forget and it can't move on. More reliable than asking the prompt 100 times, these 10 lines. Prose persuades, structure enforces, and enforcement works while you sleep.
So it's all the same move, from might get read to has to get passed through.
That's today's principle in one line. To fix a habit your AI won't drop, find the one path where that behavior actually gets decided and put the condition there. A prompt gets read sometimes. A schema, a validator, a hook, those always get passed through. Change nothing but the location, and the same lesson flips from rotting to working.
Written down, it's a wish, but in structure, it's a guarantee.
If you take that home, today did its job. To sum it up, a lesson you write down is a hope. A lesson you encode is a guarantee. Same sentence, drop it in prose and it rots, drop it in a default, a gate that fails, a required slot and a quota and it works. And the most dangerous moment is the one where you think I wrote it so it's fixed, that receipt might still bounce. How we build and run this rules grow every time we fail loop. There's a whole other video on that. Watch it and you'll see how today's 3 shapes connect inside the actual pipeline. The next tricky one is the opposite problem, when the structure is too tight and starts rejecting the good stuff too. Over rigid schemas, that's for next time.
Don't do that again. Isn't about where you write it, it's about where you put it. taking that home. Subscribe and I'll see you on the Structure Got Too Tight one.